There has been no risk posed to students, staff, or visitors. That said, the incident is being treated with the highest level of seriousness and urgency. As a government, we will leave no stone unturned in determining the cause of this failure and taking all the necessary corrective measures. As previously outlined by the then acting Prime Minister, the government has taken swift and decisive action in response to the incident. This includes the engagement of an independent structural engineer, and of course this structural engineer will come from St. Lucia, and he should be on island no later than Wednesday, to conduct a full investigation, a comprehensive assessment of all structures under construction at the site, and the temporary suspension of works. A joint technical team from the Ministries of Education and Public Works is providing oversight and ongoing engagement with the contractors, school administration, and other stakeholders is underway to ensure safety, accountability, and transparency throughout the process. Let me reiterate that the safety of our students, teachers, and education stakeholders remains the government's highest priority. We will not compromise on quality public building, and we will ensure that safety is respected and adhered to. As Prime Minister, I gave the nation my assurance that this matter would be addressed comprehensively and responsibly. We go to Parliament tomorrow, Tuesday, the 24th. The Government of Dominica is proud to announce that legislation will be tabled in Parliament to formally establish the Dominica Sperm Whale Reserve, an historic initiative aimed at protecting this iconic our sustainable development goals. The legislation builds on the commitment first announced by the government in 2023 to designate a protected area off the west coast of Dominica, where our unique population of resident sperm whales has lived and thrived for years. These magnificent creatures, who are among the largest animals on Earth, are a critical part of our marine ecosystem. The creation of a sperm whale reserve is our way of addressing the mounting threats facing these endangered species, from noise pollution to ship strikes. Climate change and unsustainable fishing practices also pose a risk. The reserve will serve as a sanctuary that prioritizes marine biodiversity, regulates human activity, and ensures that Dominica continues to be a safe haven for sperm whales. The proposed legislation will introduce a comprehensive management framework for the reserve, including clearly defined navigation tools and oversight mechanisms to ensure responsible use of the designated area. It will also safeguard the livelihoods of local fishers by preserving traditional fishing practices and ensuring that their voices are included in the reserve's long-term management. Furthermore, the Sperm Whale Reserve is expected to significantly enhance Dominica's position as a premier destination for ecotourism by promoting low-impact, high-value marine tourism, such as whale watching, scientific research, and educational exchanges. We aim to increase economic opportunities for coastal communities while reinforcing our image as the nature isle of the Caribbean. We thank all stakeholders who have contributed to the development of this policy, our partners at the National Geographic Pristine Seas, Dominica Sperm Whale Project, local communities, fishers, and conservation partners. I'm aware that there are local operators within this sector who still do have some concerns, and I give you the assurance that these concerns will be given due attention and consideration as we move towards the passage of the legislation. In respect to the news of the U.S. visa ban, I want to say to us in Dominica that there is really no need or cause for panic. Though we have not received any official communication on this matter, we have been proactive in engaging ascertain the facts and the actions which may be necessary. I assure the people of Dominica that we take the matter seriously, and the government is addressing this through appropriate diplomatic channels. So Dominicans who are in possession of a U.S. visa and have legitimate reasons to travel to the United States can do so, whether on business, study, or vacation. We are committed to protecting our national interests, the integrity of our international partnerships, and most importantly, the rights and freedoms of the Dominican people. We are prepared to address the concerns raised by our international partners through appropriate diplomatic and cooperative means. The government will keep the public informed as more information becomes available. We remain confident in our institutions, in the strength of our international relations, and in our collective ability to resolve any issues that may arise. From our engagement so far, we have been able to get some information on the concerns which the United States may have. One of them being illegal migration of Dominicans who are residing in the United States beyond the legal stay, people who have overstayed on their visas. The U.S. is raising that concern, and it's something that we need to address. And of course, our continued cooperation on those who have to be deported. Fortunately for Dominica, we have not had any numbers of deportees so far, but we will continue to cooperate with the United States on this matter. And of course, there are some aspects of our CBI program of which, most of which have been addressed through the establishment of the independent regulatory authority among the member states who have CBI programs. And one of those concerns the United States has is the ability of applicants to change their names, either during the process or after the process. We met over the weekend as heads of government of these countries, and we've made it very clear that part of one of the provisions of the legislation in this new creation will be a complete ban on the ability of any applicant to change their names. So once you become a citizen under the program, you will not have the ability to change your names at all or continue to benefit from the citizenship of our countries. And there are some other administrative things, all of which we believe will be captured in the new legislation, which we will share with the public in the next few days. So there are not many things to be worried about or to be overly anxious about. I think we are mature leadership. We treat things in a responsible manner, and we will continue to engage the United States in a very responsible manner, whatever concerns they have, that they may have. We're not aware of anything that is beyond our ability to address, and we look forward to hearing from them officially, if at all. And once we do, then we will respond in a like manner, and we will keep the Dominican public informed. But I'll say to you, there's no need to panic. You know, there's a lot of things being said on social media, and so I would suggest to us that on this matter, wait to hear from the government on its engagement with the U.S. on this issue. We'll be transparent with you. We'll be open with you on this matter. Whatever information we have, we'll share with you. Whatever actions we're taking, we'll also share with you to let you know going forward. The United States is an important partner for many reasons, on cultural, economic, political, on many fronts, and it's a relationship that we are very, very grateful for, and we'll continue to work on this matter. There's a correspondence from to the Ministry of National Security that was, and they have asked us to share that information with our citizens in respect to travel to the United States. If you travel to the United States and they give you 6 months, do not let 6 months on the day take you to the United States. You can leave before the 6 months over, but do not overstay on your visa. And they're also saying to us to inform our citizens who are in the United States that if you are in the United States and you are not legal, that is to say that you have gone beyond your stay, or you got to the United States through non-legal means, then you should avail yourself to the authorities, and they will facilitate your repatriation to Dominica and so forth. They'll pay away, they'll give you some money to come home, whatever it is. So that's one of the issues that they're raising. Of course, that's something that I don't have much control over. I think it's a matter for us to understand those who are involved in that they need to deal with this matter. But what I want to say to us in Dominica, that on this issue there is no need to be anxious. Reading on social media and all these things and so on, and the sensation that's going to be, and all of this speculation. I'm not involved in speculation. Something is seen or read, we ask directly to the people who may have the information, and that's why we engage in the United States. And I have assigned a lot of my time on this issue, and I'm personally, as Prime Minister, leading the government's response on this matter. So I want to thank the press for being here, and now I shall take your questions, please.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your statements, for your assurances, and of course for the important information that you have shared with all of us. At this point, we will open the floor, as the Prime Minister said, for questions. I see the news editor and proprietor of Nature Isle News is on his feet. Halil John Baptist, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary. I have a number of them, Prime Minister, that I hit. The first three, if I hand over to my senior, was gladly consented to have me open the bowling. Section 108 of the Dominican Constitution deals with parliamentary commissioner or ombudsman. Prime Minister, your government has been in office for 25 years, and during that time, there have been complaints / allegations of alleged maladministration from opposition forces. Don't you think that if you have an ombudsman, it will address these allegations, complaints from opposition forces? That's one question. The next question says, I have there is, did OECS leaders disagree on the issue of CBI during the authority meeting? And how do you feel about Gonzalez, that's Prime Minister Gonzalez of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as OECS chairman, having to answer questions on the matter when he publicly said he is not in favor of CBI? Can he truly represent the views of 5 OECS countries on the CBI during his tenure? And my third question is, do you share Prime Minister Gonzalez's position that the OECS should look to exit CSME, given the problems he, Gonzalez, has articulated with regards to the relationship? Do you share Alan Chasney's position on OECS leaving CARICOM and negotiating bilateral treaties with the bigger CARICOM countries?
Thank you very much. In respect to the parliamentary ombudsman, if you go back to the archives of the country, the recent archives of the country, when there were discussions about the establishment of the Integrity Commission, I suggested then that instead of going the route of creating another entity, that we should go to the Constitution and see what the Constitution sought to do by recognizing the need for a constitutional body to deal with such matters. And I believe that instead of the Integrity Commission that has got into a lot of nonsensical political machinations, we should have gone the route of engaging a parliamentary ombudsman. Give that parliamentary ombudsman all of the staffing that he or she requires or needed to address whatever concerns the public or citizens of Dominica may have in respect to the governance of the country. And of course, coming out of that, you could also have legislation to support the provision of the Constitution that would articulate very clearly what the ombudsman will to do in light of his or her constitutional authority and independence. You understand? We did not go that route, and so. But I will not. From a financial standpoint, it will make sense to us both, because we're a small country. We have to maximize the use of our resources. So I will not suggest that we are both, and that's why I believe that I am happy that you're raising this very far-reaching question, and I think it's a conversation the country needs to have as to whether we should go the route of respecting the provision of the Constitution by appointment of the ombudsman, or do we keep the Integrity Commission, or do we scrap it and go the route of the provision of the Constitution? I just want the record to show for students of history that the Ombudsman has never been appointed since it was created. So I don't want people to say, well, since Skerrit came in, or since Labour came in, we have not had an Ombudsman. Michelle said 15 years, it wasn't done. Patrick John was there for a little time, it wasn't done. You know, before 4.5 years, it wasn't done. So it has never been appointed. That's on the record to show that. Skerrit come, you know, we had an international airport, and now we have a Kingsfield airport, and since, you know, we had so many things that, you know, so I also make that point. But I agree with you on the issue of the Ombudsman, that my preferred choice would have been to go the appointment of the Parliamentary Ombudsman, and not create the Integrity Commission, which in itself has limited authority, because you can't give it constitutional authority when it's just a creature of the Parliament. In respect to the OECS and the current chairman of the OECS, Dr. Gonzalez, certainly he won't be speaking on behalf of the countries with the CBI programs and CBI programs. We have our own grouping of St. Kitts, Dominica, St. Lucia, and Grenada. We had a meeting on Friday evening. It was a very constructive meeting, and we were able to address a number of policy issues so that the draft legislation can be proceeded with. And once those move to sharing that draft legislation with the general public and our stakeholders. And so we speak on the issue of the CBI, we shall speak on our own behalf on this matter, and I think we have the ability to speak on those matters very clearly. In respect to exit of CSME and so forth, I don't necessarily believe that it was suggested that we exit. I think what is being said is stating some facts of some disparity and some inconsistency with the provisions of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas and the special carve-out for the least developed countries within the OECS, and that there are countries that are not living up to their obligations under the revised treaty. And so a lot of all the manufacturers within the CARICOM are protected, all right, given special treatment. But the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas also made provision for they to make a contribution, especially to the CDF, the CARICOM Development Fund, to assist countries like ours to get us to be up to par, and that has not been addressed. And there are other issues within the framework. And it's not the first time we've heard that. We've been repeating this for many years. But certainly Dominica doesn't support the exit from the CSME. Neither do we support the suggestion of exiting from CARICOM. In a family, you may have disagreements, but you have to look at the and I think CARICOM will need to have a very sincere conversation about the present state of CARICOM and the future of CARICOM, where all members are concerned. And so I'm hoping that at the CARICOM meeting in Jamaica earlier next month, that those matters can be discussed and fleshed out. But certainly we do not support the notion of exiting. And I don't think that it makes any sense to individual countries to exit CARICOM and go and have bilateral engagements. We don't have the mass that we think that each of us in this CARICOM, we are prime ministers or presidents of these big continents and these huge populations and these huge economies, and are always with us every single day, every single minute of the day. And it's important in this very difficult and challenging and uncertain world that CARICOM rises to the occasion and even closer together for the greater good of our citizens. There is no one country in the world that you can go out there with a fishing rod and say you're going to fish in this deep ocean by yourself. And so we are strong on integration, we are strong on regional solidarity. People know me. I am very strong on this. I'm not for that's intrinsic within me. You understand? And I think that we have to find a way of allowing that, enabling that solidarity to be more entrenched and more present. You understand what I'm saying? And that we have to come to the realization that if something affects country A, it is certainly going to affect every other country. And this is what we have to recognize. We have seen it. In less than 40 minutes, all countries can be wiped out. 40 minutes. So, and we're islands. We don't have this landmass where you can run from one state to the other, one province to the other. You understand? And our economies are very vulnerable to external shocks. Very, very vulnerable to external shocks. So I think we should move towards creating a single space within the Caribbean and helping ourselves work together. But overall, I do not believe that we should support or intimate the notion of exiting. I don't think any one of us can survive on our own in this very difficult world. The world is, comparing the world now to 20 years ago,
Yes, Prime Minister Skerrit, good morning to you. Curtis Matthew, DBS Radio. July 19, 2023, the UK government imposed visa restrictions on Dominica. As we speak, the restrictions are still in place. Any update, Prime Minister, in terms of what is Dominica doing in that regard? Are we in contact with the government of Britain? My next question is on the budget 2025-2026. Do you have a date in mind when the presentation will take place, and what would be the main highlights of the budget in 2025-2026? And on the World Creole Music Festival, do we have a date in mind when that is going to be launched, the 25th? A date in mind, and what about the budget for the festival this year? Can we see an increased budget for the 25th anniversary of the festival? I'll come back in another round while I make way for Canada John Baptist.
Yeah, in respect to the UK, as you know, we are always in contact with the government on this and other issues in the field of diplomacy. I believe that we may stand a very strong opportunity. Legislation, this uniform legislation, establishing the independent regulatory authority, and I believe that would place us in a better position towards addressing whatever concerns that may linger where the UK is concerned. So I think it's a matter of time, and we'll see what the future holds in this. But it's something we continue to engage on this and other issues, and we won't relent until we get some reconsideration. We still hold that the UK was a bit unfair to us. And you just have to move on with it and press on with it, but not relent on your efforts towards addressing whatever concerns or issues which may exist. The budget, of course, is still being worked on, and at some point I believe that the Minister of Finance will share with you some perspectives on this. But one has to be mindful that you are going into a budget year, or you engage in the budget preparation in a very, very delicate global environment. You have the current situation involving Iran and Israel and the United States, and of course, whenever these things happen, there are commercial people who try to profiteer from those issues, and you'll have price of oil going up, and when this price of oil goes up, it has this cascading impact on everything that is produces and everything that moves. You have a lot of cancellation of flights in the region and so forth. It's produced in the region and so forth. In terms of shipping, in terms of the risk associated with global shipping, insurance costs may go up. And then when insurance cost goes up, then they're going to pass it on to the consumers. So there are many things that one has to pay attention to. You know, hurricane season, for example. They say that they're going to be a very active hurricane season. So you do not know. And hurricane season now is up until December. You know, no longer September. You know, so you have to put in some things that will continue to give hope and confidence in the economy, but you also have to be prudent and responsible in what you say and how you go about making certain offerings. We're not going to be, as we have now been in the business of making outlandish commitments to people that cannot be sustained. We've been responsive to the needs of the American people, but also very responsible. Because, you know, I always tell people, I liken the management of Dominica's economy like driving on the Imperial Road. You cannot take your eyes off the road. The moment you take your eyes off the road, you're in the precipice. And therefore, and I have heard people like Dr. Fountain, the leader of the United Workers' Party, and at some point I'll address those issues, have a 10-pillar recipe, or whatever he calls it, for the economy. And I can't understand how this gentleman worked at the IMF, because there's no way somebody who worked at the IMF couldn't have such prescriptions. I mean, if it was Lennox Clinton who said that, it's okay. Lennox Clinton or Hector John, and it's okay. But can it be Thompson Fountain, who is being paraded as an economist and who could go to the IMF because he likes to say he worked at the IMF. At the IMF, and that's the prescription you're going to propose to the country, that you're going to slash revenue by over $300 million, and not saying where you're going to get it from. And then you maintain relations to the Polisario. Polisario giving you money. The only person you have relations with the Polisario. So where you can get grants from? You have articulated an anti-one China policy. So where you get the money from? So at some point I will deal with this, but so the point I'm making is that you see some of these things you want to laugh, but you can't laugh because it's serious, you know. So I see you laughing because this is not. I mean, I too want to laugh because it appears to be a joke, but it's serious matter, serious business, you know. Anyway, so we'll speak about the highlights and so forth. But I believe that the government, if I were to advise the government, I believe that the government needs to articulate some views on the cost of living, and what are some of the things that we can do to help alleviate the cost of living. And I believe that there are many people who are building homes and who want to build homes and who need to be facilitated one way or the other. And I think I'm going to find a way of facilitating those persons in a transparent way to build their homes, especially young people who have come back from studies and who are working in Dominica and making a contribution to build this country, that we need to give them a holding hand. And to see what we can do. So, but I'm sure the cabinet will discuss the matters, and if those points find favor, then we'll proceed with those. Of course, we have had many consultations led by the Ministry of Finance with farmers and the small business people, the private sector as well. And we've also been receiving suggestions from stakeholders, and I have been to a couple of them consultations, and I think some ideas have come forth that I believe that could find a way into the policy statements or the budget, and to facilitate and address the concerns of smaller stakeholders. And we're doing consultations for all my time as Prime Minister, and I have always found them to be very useful and helpful, because at the end of the day, we're not only trying to balance the government books, we're trying to also balance people's lives and also get them to have hope and confidence in themselves and the country, and to invest in the country and to improve themselves. Okay, Creole Festival. Is it Thursday? For this Thursday you launching? Where you launching, Minister? Villa Capital launching there. Okay. 14.4 million. 4 million higher than. 4 million higher last year. 13.4. I think the Ministry of Finance will get you some money today. Yeah, I think they will get you about $3 million today, tomorrow, so that you can pay the deposits to the people and so on, so that you can move ahead. But the Kerrl Festival is an important part of our calendar. I think it's Thursday. This Thursday, Tuesday 26. I don't know why you guys will launch like during carnival time. I don't know why you guys wait for so long. I don't know. Is it bands or groups or what is it? Performers? When we can talk to them day before or something?
Yeah, it looked like 2 years before, and that's the other
I see.
Yeah.
So maybe to launch a little earlier than that. I think. But I think the Kerrl Festival is always going to be fantastic. I think we have been improving over the years. It has become the world's premier music festival, hands down. There is no competition, none, and everybody has accepted that. That this is number one. This is the place you come to fete. That's the only place where you can get a day break. You understand? When you come to Dominica, folks, as you know, you party 24/7, my friends. There's no sleep. People sleep weeks before that and they sleep after that, but during the weekend there's no sleep in the Kerrl Festival. It's from one to the other. You leave the Kerrl Festival at 7 o'clock in the morning, you go on the bayfront. You understand? Kerrl Bodlame. From the Kerrl Bodlame you go to a river bath and so on. You go to a hot springs and from the hot springs you dress and you go back to the festival. And let me tell you something, it's a vibes, you know? You must engage me to promote the festival. Let me move around for you guys. Getting excited, man. You know? Yeah, so look forward to that.
So the monetary aspect you said is what?
Well, it's 13.4 million that the minister is saying. Yeah, 4 million higher than last year. These things cost money. Because artists are not cheap. Once an artist has one song, he believes that, that one song worth $1 million, and they bring 25 people with them, and so it is a very costly exercise, but the economic impact is huge. It's huge, and that's why we need to promote it and support it. And I think that we need to have a conversation on a more sustainable path for financing of the festival. I think it's a conversation we need to have with stakeholders. But it's a very important part and a huge impact on the economy, so the government will continue to support it heavily. Okay, any sure.
Prime Minister, round two.
Yeah.
To what extent will the ongoing war between Iran and Israel affect Dominica's geothermal project, given the fact that Dominica is depending on Israel for assistance in that project? Because I know, well, this is not direct assistance, but some stuff coming from there earlier on that was said from Israel. Has any consideration been given to making the immigration department a separate unit from the police force, like in Barbados and Antigua, thus creating more jobs? Also, has the government discussed or intends to have an emergency medical services unit, thereby freeing the fire department to deal specifically with fire and rescue operations? And my final question in this round is, given the significant migration patterns we've observed, does the relevant government ministry anticipate any challenges or data reliability concerns that might affect the last population census interpretation? And also remember that the census is yet to be released. It is.
Well, on the first question, we don't see any impact on the geothermal project this time, regards to the conflict between Israel and Iran. The second question on the separation of the immigration department from the rest of the police force, we had done some studies on that before, so there's a document on this as part of our reform agenda. I met with the Minister for National Security and also the Chief of Police. Gradual efforts towards bringing in civilians into the immigration department and also police administration. I believe that, so we have at the immigration department, about 20 or 25 police officers assigned, and in the administration, maybe about 8 or so. And the idea is to bring in civilians to take up administrative duties and allow the police to do policing work, and also in the immigration department. So there are persons there who will be made immigration officers, and then gradually we will get out of the police being immigration officers and dealing with the issuance of passports and the likes. So I have given that a mandate to proceed with this. But it won't be done in a guillotine type way, it will be done over a period of time. But certainly, so we'll free up the police with about 30 men that can be available to your police to carry out matters relating to the security of our citizens. The fire and ambulance service, I think it won't make sense to separate the two. You're just going to create another administration that you may not be able to sustain. And I think it's good driving experience for the firemen, because otherwise, I mean, the frequency of the fires and so on, so it's an opportunity for men to be active, and so there are plus and minuses to it, but a small population like this, I don't think it'll make any financial sense in separating the two. Population census, as you know, the problem we had, and I've said so before, is that we were not getting enough cooperation from the residents during the efforts towards the collecting of the data. So the census, so we had to put a halt in it and redefine the whole approach towards the census. And of course, this is a matter of the Ministry of Finance. It will be better able to share with you and address with you the details of this. So we did not complete the exercise, any report to present. So it is not true to say that we have not released the census. It has not been completed, and therefore it's not possible to think. And we went into the field twice. We sought advice and went back into the field using a different strategy, and that did not yield the result that we needed to yield. And so we had put a stop on it for us to get further advice on our reposition of this. And so this is where we are. So there was never a completed census. And if there is no completed census, there's no census to release, because there were some administrative challenges with the folks out in the field trying to get information from our residents and so on.
So in fact, we don't know what the population of Dominica is.
Well, I want to say, from a strict scientific standpoint, no. You understand? Because the last one was done. I can't remember when the last one was done, but certainly it's an important piece of information that you need. It's important data that you need, because that will help for a number of policy initiatives and programs and projects, and so it's important. So our hope is that we can get the cooperation of the citizens on this matter, and so that we can collate the information and have it analyzed and present it in a manner that's required from an international standpoint. Yeah.
Yes, Prime Minister, you have hinted to a possible cabinet reshuffle. I know what that reshuffle should look like. And you've also mentioned the possibility of a music award for Dominica this year. Is that on or is it off? In 2014, Prime Minister Skerrit, a security officer in Marigot, Vescott Jones, lost his job over some 8 crabbacks. I think Lennox Linton, the then opposition leader at the time, was involved in attempting to move out of Dominica with some crabbacks. That matter has remained a controversial one. What is the position? I know you've intervened in that matter to bring it to a resolution. Vescott Jones, as far as I know, is still unemployed. What is your position on this matter? And if Kala allows me, I probably will ask a final one. Right. The other question has to do with education reform. And you've mentioned that you would like to see the process move in September of this year, where the primary schools would see some sort of education reform. The government has also taken this matter a little further with a few consultations. I have attended a few of them. What sort of reform should we anticipate in September of this year?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, on your first question on the cabinet reshuffle, yes, there will be at some point, and of course the country will be informed of this. One is not something that the Prime Minister informs the country of prior to his taking the decision, but certainly there will be, and of course you'll be informed of this at the appropriate time. The music award, yes, is an important part. I think that the ministries concerned need to meet and to fashion it out. I believe it's an important. It's something that would build, that will instill confidence and recognition of the talent that we have in the country, and those who are out there, practicing their trade and making an economic opportunity out of this, and so it's an opportunity that we showcase what we have, and we have very deep talent in Dominica compared to many countries. We are trending in the world when it comes to music, and all homegrown music. We're not something we're copying from anybody else. This is our own creation, our own talent. Nobody accuses us of copyright. Nobody accuses us of stealing their art form. We are building, we are doing it from scratch. And I think that we need to have an opportunity where we can say thanks, and we can give recognition, and we can big the people up, and have our own opportunity to do that. And so I'm hoping that culture and tourism and the other stakeholders can meet and to fashion this thing out. And then before the end of the year, we should have this festival. I know there are private individuals who have offered to partner with us, and we should partner with them and to have a nice, beautiful ceremony. We can dress up and receive the award. And I just feel that in Dominica we do not celebrate people enough. We not show enough appreciation for people's talent and people's contribution. And I think we need to start celebrating ourselves. We're too quick to bring people down. We're too quick to be gossiping and to be negative and to be this. We're not sure how long we'll be on this earth for. And therefore, the time that we're on the earth, we have to be more constructive, more positive. Our minds must be one of that is overflowing with love and empathy and concern and care for people, and a spirit of togetherness. We have to change our mindset in this world and in our country, and there's just too much negative spirits around the place. We need to exercise ourselves of that, and I think these kind of activities will help us bridge that divide that exists in our country. The world is too difficult. The world now requires us to work more closely together for our own sake as a country. And those kind of activities where we can celebrate people and show appreciation. We cannot wait only to be negative on something. The whole notion of when people die, that's when we have all of the flowers on the burial ground. You know what I'm saying? It will cost us cheaper to buy one while the person's alive. A plant might cost you $10, a live plant in a pot. As compared to a $200 bouquet. And the person is not there to recognize that you show appreciation to them, because you may not be the person in heaven. You may go a different path. So I think we have to change this, and I think this kind of events will certainly help in my view. 2014, this Vesco Jones matter, I don't want to get involved in this anymore. I tried to get involved in this to resolve the matter. It didn't work. It wasn't accepted, and I think that's what the DASPA to deal with. And so I think you would direct your question to the chairman of DASPA or the general manager of DASPA, and those who have direct relationship with this matter. Education reform, yes, we've had consultations. The next step is to have a national symposium. I am hoping that we can have this in July, where we invite all stakeholders, and so that we can better fashion what this reform will look like in September. Now, I want to say to us in Dominica that reform is an ongoing process. Reform is an ongoing it is an ongoing process. So the time has come for us to address a deficiency, and it's no criticism of anybody. Because that same conversation we have in the Dominican is being held in every country in the world, of the need to re-look at our education system and to see whether it is aligned with our national development goals, whether it is aligned with what's happening in the world, and how do we prepare our children to deal with the challenges, but also take advantage of the opportunities which exist in the world. Because education must be seen as an investment. And how are you going to allow children to recoup their investments once they get the skill and the qualification? And so those skills and qualifications must be aligned with the global realities and your national realities. And so there's no need for children, because there are more opportunities now, there's no need for us to expose children to everything in the world at the primary school. I think a primary school should be the fundamentals, while we do other things. And sports must be exciting. Let's let children play cricket and football and basketball and netball and all of these sports are there, rather than a child writing an exam and say what is this, how do you stretch, is this correct or whatever. Multiple choice is not going to get a child to master the world out there. We have to get our children to be critical thinkers, to have analytical skills, to be able to comprehend. Once you master comprehension, you can master any subject. Because before you can solve a problem, you must know what they're telling you, what he's asking of you. And so there's some fundamentals that we have to focus on. And let children play their music, bring their guitar to school, bring their organ to school, and let us see who is the guitarist there, who is the organist there, the saxophonist, and so on. Let them be free to express themselves, and not have them in a cage called an exam. Because once you have an exam, you're only going to be focusing on exam and not building a child. And so this thing should not be exam-based. Music and art and sports should not be exam-based. It should be more about participation, diagnosing children's abilities, and now assisting them to take advantage of this God-given talent that they have. You understand? And so, and I made the point at a couple of the consultations. Did we pick up at school that Issa Banton had talent beyond cricket? Or Nice? Or Suki? Maybe had we picked up Suki had talent at school, he would have a different path in life. Don't know. You understand? And so this is what we want the school to be. The school to be an exciting place for children to come. As it is now, it places a lot of burden on children and on parents and on teachers. Because I talk to teachers every day. I am very close to the classroom. And it's a challenging because the world has changed. The world has changed. The world has more challenges now than it had before. But they also have many more opportunities. And so how do we position a child to overcome the challenges, and also to be able to see an opportunity and go after it and make money out of it in a legitimate way? And so let's focus on the fundamentals. Let us build on children's character. Let us build on children's interest in skills. Every child should be exposed to skills. And let us see what talent you have. You understand? I have a brother. He and I are two different learners. He's a technical guy. The guy can do anything for you. He'll draw a plan for you. He'll read a plan for you. He can tile. He can do electrical. He can do plumbing. He can build a cupboard. He can build a house. He can build anything you want to build. He can build it. You understand what I'm saying? No, I'm able to assist him in the interior design and the landscaping and so forth. But the people who have the talent. You understand? So we have to get the school system to be able to harness, first of all, diagnose the talent, and also help each other harness it. So there'll be some changes you will see in terms of examination, in terms of approach. And so once we fashion what we want, then we have to determine how we're going to implement it. You understand? and taking it forward. And then we go to the secondary school system. We have a bigger problem. You understand? But I think if we address the foundation, then when you get to the stem and to the branches, you'll be better off going forward. And then you have you'll have better and brighter. So that's a major step forward, and I think that we can't wait for another year to say we're going to do it. I think we have to do it. And I just remind people that since 2003, when I was the Minister of Education, we had started curriculum reform, and because I had concern back then. So it's not yesterday's stuff. Since back then, I had concern about the way that we're teaching. I never believe in having written exams only, because I always tell students and teachers that 90% of your engagement is oral. So if we have a school system that only deals with written exams, and there are children who may be able to write a response, but a child can speak to you very, very eloquently, very, very knowledgeably on a question. And why should the child be failed because the child cannot write the response? What I can explain to you, because that child might be a linguistic learner, good with words, speaking, languages, but may not be able to write. And why should a child fail? And cause a child to descend into poverty because he has no skills certificate. So, for me, if we're able as a nation to, and sorry for going for so long, because once you ask me a question about this, I can go for the entire day, you know, because I believe in the need for us to do this. See, I believe in the need for this. I mean, we just had the national assessment exams, you know? I mean, and had parents climb up on the walls, you know? And had children dramatically depressed. Now, fortunately for me, I have some training. I can manage the stuff. The weekend before the exam, my son played all through the weekend, and he never studied a book. Say, whatever you do, boss man, it's okay with me. That is fine. I believe in you, and whatever you do, it's okay. But not every parent can have the ability to do that. And you play from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, Monday you do some practices and so on, but weekend is play. So no TV or no games during the week for him. Friday, Saturday, Sunday you can play. You can play your games and so on. But not every parent has the ability to do that. And so it's not, and in life it's not about me, it's about the people. And if I'm experiencing it, I can understand what people experience, because people they have no help. See, their parents will not have no help, and they have to be at work, and nobody is home. You understand? So we have to move with this, and I'm hoping that we can continue to get the support of all stakeholders, because it's not only for the government to say, because at the end of the day, all of us must play our part to allow it to happen. But I think we have to try it out. Let's see what happens in September. If January comes, we have to make some changes. That's fine. You understand what I'm saying? But it's important for us to have a paradigm shift, a change of this thing in September, and limit our examination to the basics, to see how well you can keep knowledge and so information and so on. But the element of the exams, there must be an oral part of it. It can't only be about written exams. And the content of the curriculum too needs to be revisited. You may not have it in for September, but as I said, it's an ongoing process, and let's start with that. I think I would answer all your questions on it, right?
Yes.
Sorry for you.
Prime Minister, we seem to have a problem with who will get the was arrested and charged for bringing prohibited items at the prison. Today, a police officer is before the court for cocaine. How concerned are you as Prime Minister of the country with 2 security officers being before the court, and who should be upholding law and order in the country? Also, can you give us a latest update? I'm still in Cliffy's Thunder. The winds are back. When things are going to start, and what is the latest update on that? And also, does the government have any intention of upgrading say, Geneva playing field and Portsmouth playing field, because of course the Windsor Park is heavily utilized. And my final question in this round is, we always have tribunals for industrial matters. Do you intend having an industrial court as it relates to deal with tribunals, sir?
Yeah. In respect to your first question, it's always unfortunate that persons who have to uphold the law find themselves with difficulty with law, and the mere fact that they are being apprehended tells you that the system is working and that no one is above the law. It's always unfortunate, but that's the reality that you have to deal with, and we just continue to urge those who have that responsibility to stay clear of those activities, because the country is dependent on them to secure the rest of us. And so it's always an unfortunate circumstance, and especially in cases where you know the people personally. So these things are really unfortunate, but the police has to do their job, and they're doing the job, and we have to commend them for doing the job and ensuring that the application of the law is that the law is blind, and that the law will apprehend and deal with anybody who goes afoul with the law. So I think we should commend the police officers for this effort. The other question you had in regards to Windsor Park, I think the contract has mobilized. Okay, so work has in fact started. I think you will see physical work, or you should have started to see physical work in the stadium. I have not gotten that brief yet on this, but as far as the government is concerned, everything is in place. The contractor would have received his advance payment, I believe, based on the contract, and so we're on track for this. We're on track for this. Geneva and Benjamin's Park, as you know, we spent a lot of money on this too. Just reflect back on where these places were when we became the government, and where they are now. I think the next step in both of these facilities is to enhance the perimeter of the facilities with improved stands and etc. But in terms of the playing surface and so on, it's well, a lot has been done. My hope is that that the citizens, residents of Dominica, can make greater use of these playing fields, not only during the day but also at night, because so it's important that that we make use of it on an ongoing basis. But these are major investments, and of course these are two premier grounds outside of Windsor Park, and so while some work has been done, obviously you'll always keep having things to do. I think in Geneva we need to look at maybe construction of stands and more permanent stands, so that it can enhance the participation of spectators to the sites, as well as the Benjamin's Park. The tribunal, it's a good point you're making. I know that the Ministry of Legal Affairs is looking at the night court. As you know, some years ago we had taken a decision for the establishment of a quote-unquote night court to facilitate working people and people in the private sector, that you don't have to stay away from work or from your business during the day and spend an entire day in court waiting for your matter to be heard. That you would have worked for the entire day and then go into the court at night to let your matter be General and the Minister of National Security to bring this to the attention of the Chief Magistrate, because at the end of the day, it is the executive as the cabinet's obligation to make the resources available. How those resources are managed is not our responsibility, because we don't want people to say that we're interfering in the administration of justice. So I cannot deal with where magistrates are assigned, how often they meet, etc. That's not for myself or the Minister or Attorney General to determine. But insofar as the resources, magistrates and so forth, we created this. This is why we brought in the lay magistrates. I think we have about 2 or 3 lay magistrates, and one of the magistrates' functions would have been for a night court to hear matters relating to rent and to environmental issues. You're charged for dumping in a no dump site, and matter has to be heard. because we wanted to enhance the responsibility of the citizens, where the cleanliness and the beauty of Dominica is concerned. And also, so I think the ministry has said to me that they're going to be back on track with this. We are employing more magistrates there, and so this is something that that we're looking forward to having. And of course, those matters we speak about can now be given the urgency and the priority that's required. But again, remember the tribunal system is done by non-court people in a sense. And so it's a separate entity. So this has to be relooked on a broader perspective. Other countries may have gone ahead with that because of your strong situation at the time. Yeah. But it's essentially a tribunal in a sense that we have here. But some of these tribunals take a long time because people do so, when they have time, and so it can be protracted for way too long. I think I've answered your questions.
I think the understand. Yeah, I think the understanding here. That's my final 2 questions. So, Kala, you'll have a chance for 2 more. Yeah, Prime Minister. My question is on the Petite Savanne deal. Based on statements by the government this year, the road should have been accessible by now. Can you bring us an update on the Petite Savanne Dalis Link Road? And speak to the many people who are talking about the Roseau Enhancement Project. They're listening to you now. They want some updates on the Roseau Enhancement Project. Kalaya, the rest is yours.
Okay. On the Petite Savanne Dalis Road, as you know, we have done a significant amount of work on this road over a period of time. During COVID, we cleared all the landslides. We spent over $2 million clearing the landslides that were still existent. And we've also since we've worked with the community. There are some people who reside in there, worked with them to improve some other sections of the road. And very crucially, we have placed a Bailey Bridge in the last gorge that will connect Petite Savanne to Dalis. So there's a Bailey Bridge there. I think what we're working on now is the approachment to the both sides. So where are we on this now? So the contractor is being engaged in that, so as to pave it. You can access it because when I was at the Pork Fest, I met many people from the east, and they drove across that road from Dalis and from Grand Fond. They were at Bacatel, having driven across from the east. So you can in fact access the road, and there's some work that we need to do on the Dalis end in addressing some of the road surface. So that'll be done. But you and I can drive to River Cyric, Mount John, this afternoon if you wish, passing through Dalis Road. Yeah. The next step we're going to be doing, once we do that, then we will give Domlec the green light or the red light, whichever one you call it, to go ahead and to connect residents there for electricity. So that's the next step we will be doing, and hoping that we can do that in the next few days, so that Domlec can have the authority to go and connect.
Can drive on that road easily, you say?
Yeah, you can drive on it. I say easily. Yeah, but you can. But if you're going to Mount John tomorrow, you can drive through there, and you get to Mount John. No, it's okay. I think it should be okay. Yeah, it'll be okay. Yeah. But the challenge you had in Dalis, because you could have driven through to Dalis, from Petite Savanne. The only problem you had was the last gorge where the former police mother resided, right in that gorge there. It's water crossing. You understand? But now that the Bailey Bridge is connecting this, so you can access it. You understand? You can access it. So people are doing that, but we just need to pave the approaches on both sides, and of course there's some work that needs to be done on the Dalis side of the road and improving the surface and so forth. But the crucial part was the Bailey Bridge. Okay. And the road enhancement, obviously there was a slight delay, which in a sense was a bit protracted, in that you have to create a management unit. But those persons we have to get no objection from the Saudi fund. Okay? And so that took some time for there to be no objection. So we're just waiting for one more person for the no objection. And I think once we get this, we should be okay. And so they had an issue with the names that we submitted and also the proposed compensation, remuneration. So those 2 points have been addressed, and so we are hoping that we can get the final approval from them on this. All of the documentation required for going into tender, all prepared. So once the unit is in place, it's a matter to trigger this, and then we will start accepting bids on this project. The important thing I understand the anxiety, because this is a major project that everybody is looking forward to. It will have very positive implications on the city and the country as a whole. It will enhance the city in a dramatic positive ways, and of course enhance safety. It's really going to be a remarkable project. We also have been in discussions with NTRC. They had given us a plan for the construction of underground ducts. They have submitted a proposal to us and have given the green light to go ahead and engage them. So they'll be engaged in executing that project and so on. But, so we're working with all stakeholders on this matter. And the most important thing for us is that the money is available. Parliament has approved the funds. So we're not going to be looking for money for this project. We're now addressing some administrative issues, some of which we have no control over. So once this is done, then we go to the next important phase of seeking tender for this project and so on. But once it is started and moving on, you will see how positively impactful it's going to be in transforming the city of Roseau and enhancing us into a modern city in many respects.
My final question as we wind up, PM. We have a lot of young people roaming the streets of Roseau.
What do you consider a lot?
A lot. I don't know where they're coming from. No, serious. I mean, they're struggling, drugs, etc., and they find themselves in the garbage bin. Does your government have any plans to try to, assist? Because they come from all over. In fact, for me now, it's even more than ever. If you go across there and they go in the garbage bins and they eat from that, it's unsightly. What can government possibly do to rid the streets of those young people, to assist them in terms of rehabilitation, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, we've had discussions on this with stakeholders, the private sector, other civil society. This is gonna require a societal effort toward addressing this issue. We cannot just take it and take them off the streets, because you have to respect the people's human rights and their freedom of movement, even if they may have a medical condition. And I recall a case where we tried to help a youngster, and the family appeared and wanted to sue the state for taking the person for medical treatment. So we have to be very careful on this. And so we've tried to work with families to help fashion a rehabilitation plan for those individuals that we know of, because it's going to require all stakeholders to play their part on this. Because what is 501 is one or five too many. And so we need to assist them in seeking medical care and treatment and rehabilitation from whatever challenges that they are suffering from. So it's going to require a part to play. I believe the government has a role to play, but the rest of the society has a role to play in this, from the family to the church to the private sector. And it should not it should not be from the perspective, well, these people are affecting my business or something. It should be looked from a humanitarian standpoint. If we look at it from a humanitarian standpoint, I think that we can assist. But if we just want to get rid of a problem from an economic standpoint and so on, I think we'll find some challenges. So I think we have to come with a view, empathetic perspective toward trying to help those persons to get themselves rehabilitated. But the government cannot, and of course we had made some allocations at the APU. We also have provisions for them at the Grotto Home, and the Grotto Home sometimes helps with allowing them to come in and to grab a shower and to have something to eat. And you cannot keep them. You cannot force them to stay. You cannot to revisit that approach we were taking. But even when we were trying to do this week, we came into many challenges because there are some families who are very strident with their opposition towards trying to get some of these people help. You know, but there are families out there who are certainly helpless in trying to find a solution to the children's predicament. But I believe that it's going to require everybody to play their part. The problem you have in the society today is that, and we have to guard against this. See, the more you get developed, is the more individualistic we become. You know, we become less of a society, less of a community, and we have to guard against this. And the more individualistic you become, is the more selfish you are, and the more indifferent you are to your neighbor. Which is contrary to what the Bible envisaged. It says you have to be your neighbor's keeper. And so we have to guard against this. And I think the world, Dominic included, needs more missionary work, more evangelization taking place in the communities. I meet with church leaders from time to time, and I share with them privately my perspective on this. I do not want to speak about it publicly for fear that people may misinterpret or misrepresent what I say. But we in the country, in the world, we have to think a little bit less of ourselves and more of our neighbor. And instead of looking to the solution. And I think if we look to ourselves, to the solution, I think we may very well find a solution within ourselves. And rather than passing on the problem to the government. So we go to a community and a drainage block, where is the power? Where is the government? A child is out of school, how come the power of a child out of school? You understand what I'm saying? There's grass in front of our homes, where is the NEP? You're not working. I'll pay them for money for nothing, you know? And I think, you know, there's not enough prayer in schools, and you say, well, what's the Prime Minister doing? Why isn't he in school preaching? You know. So we have to look within ourselves on the softer things of life, and you know this song, "Let there be peace on earth." What he says after, "Let it begin with me." So we have to engage ourselves, you know, and being more empathetic, more caring, more present in the communities, the business community. If you have a business, there should be grass along the road in your business. You should plant flowers, keep it clean. You can get government to come clean grass on your outside your business places. You know, your garbage, put it on a truck and take it to the solid waste department. Why put it outside when you have a truck that you can put it in your truck and take it yourself? Why are you waiting for the truck to come from solid waste that you're not paying much money for? So there are some things that we have to do. If we put all the burden on the government, what's going to happen? You see, I mean, you know, and we can't put everything on Jesus. You tell us some of it, all the burden on him, just some. All, because no, not all, no. You know, you see, my prayer and supplication, but you can't. everything after Jesus. I want this, I want this, I want that, I want that. I mean, we'll burden the man for all something we're asking for. There's something he gives us talent to do. But we're looking at the glass half empty all the time, rather than thanking God for what we have and praying for more. But we forget about what we have and we're praying for more. You know, so there are a lot of things that we have to change. We have to go back to the basics. But that's not for a press conference. That's for when I'm sitting down and I have more time to speak about these things. I remember I told you there's something I will talk about that I won't use the word vex about, but I look for a different word. But I think that we have to be a more caring society. And we can't look only to the government for this. Every part of the society has a role to play in this. And so we're hoping that we can have a different spirit and so on. But any more questions? No?
Good.
That's good. But I thank you again. I always try to be short. My responses. So I ask everybody to bear because sometimes something requires some explanation, and so that's why I take the time to explain, so that people will understand. Because there's so much misinformation out there, and some of it deliberate, some of it for ignorance, and it is creating a serious problem in society. And with the existence now of AI, I mean, all sorts of mischief. So instead we use this thing to our economic and social benefit, we're using a knowledge that the Lord has provided to us to cause mischief. Rather than seeing how I can make money out of AI, we're there in a room saying how I can make mischief using AI. And that's a problem. You know? And then we have everybody now believing all kinds of things, and no, I don't know the difference between a bright person and an ignorant person, because people who were supposed to be bright are peddling this thing and treating this thing as truth. And this is where you come back to the education reform, or being analytical, and be able to be critical in your thinking, to know what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And this is where education must be able to help our children to better determine what is true and what is false, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And if our school system or society is not helping people understand this in this world, we'll have a serious problem. We'll have a serious problem. And this is why we're calling for a paradigm shift in how we do things and how our children are educated. Because if there's not this paradigm shift, and we can't wait for tomorrow, we can't be okay with Skerrit, you have enough time to step in just now. No. We can't wait for next year to start the process, because it will be 1 year, might very well be 1 year too late. And so if we can do something today, not leave it tomorrow. You understand? But we have to get better, appreciate the difference between fact and fiction, between education and ignorance. The problem we have now is that ignorance is winning, and mischief making is winning, and people are using that and creating panic. Similar to this news about the US ban. I mean, I see things and I read things from people who should be on a program educating and informing the public about what is factual and issue. For reading this thing. Yeah, for reading this thing. And it's not fair to the society, it's not fair to the country, it's not fair to those who want to know better. So each of us need to look within ourselves and to determine what is going to be my contribution to the society. Because if we believe in afterlife, then certainly we believe that Christ will come to judge the living and the dead. But I don't want to go into preaching of the gospel at that time, so I'll end here. Until you go in peace and serve the Lord and serve our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your engagement this morning. We are staying true to our commitment to engage regularly with the members of the Dominican public through the media. So we thank you for your assistance in that regard, and we'll see you again very soon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and for listening. Good morning.